He stood in the corner of Gallery 7, hands clasped behind his back, eyes scanning the room with a rhythm so practiced it seemed automatic. Visitors walked past him without a glance. To them, he was part of the furniture. Another uniform. Another face that blended into the white walls and polished floors. Children ran by. Teenagers took selfies. Adults whispered about the artwork. And he watched, always watching. What none of them knew was that he wasn't just watching the paintings. He was reading the people. Every movement, every hesitation, every glance that lasted too long. Because Robert Chen had spent 16 years doing exactly this for the United States Secret Service. And today, someone in this museum was about to make the biggest mistake of their life. Before we dive into this story of patience, expertise, and the art of seeing what others miss, tell me in the comments from which city are you watching this video today. And if you believe that the most dangerous people are often the ones nobody notices, hit that subscribe button, because this story will change how you see the world around you. The Metropolitan Museum of Art opened its doors at 10 a.m. every morning. And every morning, Robert Chen arrived at 9:15. He was 64 years old, gray hair kept short and neat, reading glasses that hung from a chain around his neck. He wore the standard security uniform, dark blue blazer, pressed pants, black shoes that were comfortable enough for 12-hour shifts. A small radio clipped to his belt, an earpiece barely visible. He never spoke unless necessary, never drew attention, never gave visitors a reason to remember him. And that was exactly how he preferred it. The other guards were younger, louder, more social. They chatted during breaks, compared weekend plans, complained about difficult visitors. Robert stayed quiet, ate his lunch alone, read his book in the break room. The younger guards thought he was antisocial, maybe bitter about still working at his age, maybe just tired. They had no idea who he really was. Robert had joined the Secret Service in 1985, started in the Uniform Division, presidential protection. He'd stood post outside the White House, traveled with presidents, seen things that never made the news. But his real talent emerged when he transferred to the Criminal Investigative Division, specifically the Counterfeit and Art Crime Unit. He had a gift for patterns, for details, for seeing the inconsistencies that others missed. Over 16 years, he'd worked cases involving stolen paintings worth millions, forged documents, black market antiquities. He'd traveled to 12 countries, worked with Interpol, recovered artwork that had been missing for decades. He'd caught thieves so sophisticated they'd never been photographed, so careful they'd never left evidence. But Robert always found the pattern, always saw the tell. In 2001, he'd been part of the team that recovered a Vermeer stolen from a private collection. The thief had been planning the heist for 3 years, had fake credentials, insider connections, a buyer lined up in Dubai. Robert caught him because of a shoelace. The man had tied his shoes using a specific knot, military style, but his background check showed no military service. That single detail unraveled everything. The case made national news. Robert's name never appeared in any article. He retired in 2010. Pension, benefits, recognition from people who mattered. He thought he was done, but retirement felt hollow, empty. His wife had passed 2 years earlier. His daughter lived in California with her own family. His days stretched endlessly. He tried hobbies, travel, volunteer work. Nothing fit. Then a friend mentioned the museum was hiring security. Robert applied on a whim, got the job immediately, and discovered something unexpected. He was good at being invisible, better than he'd been at 50. At 64, people looked through him. dismissed him, assumed he was just counting days until retirement, and that invisibility gave him something he hadn't realized he missed: the ability to watch, to analyze, to see. The museum became his hunting ground, not for glory, not for recognition, just for the satisfaction of knowing he could still do what he'd always done best: see what others couldn't. And on this particular Thursday afternoon, someone was about to give him a reason to prove it. The group of tourists entered Gallery 7 at 2:15 p.m., 12 people. Tour guide in front, middle-aged couples, a few younger travelers with cameras. They clustered around a Caravaggio painting, listening to the guide explain the use of light and shadow. Robert watched from his corner, not the painting, the people. His eyes moved systematically, left to right, front to back, cataloging. A woman in a red scarf, taking notes, genuine interest. A man with expensive camera, photographing the artwork. Standard tourist behavior. An older couple holding hands, pointing at details. Anniversary trip, probably. And then, a man in his 30s. Dark jacket, backpack, baseball cap pulled low. He stood at the edge of the group, but wasn't listening to the guide. His eyes moved differently, not appreciating the art. Measuring, calculating. Robert's posture didn't change. His expression remained neutral, but his attention locked. The man moved to the next painting. Vermeer, girl with a pearl earring, one of the most valuable pieces in the collection. The man stopped, studied it, but not the way others did. He wasn't looking at the brushwork or the composition. He was looking at the frame, the mounting, the security sensors. Robert's radio crackled softly. All stations. Sweep in progress. Gallery 12. Robert pressed his radio. Copy. Gallery 7 clear. But he didn't move. Didn't look away. The man in the dark jacket pulled out his phone. Took a photo. Normal behavior. Except his angle was wrong. He wasn't photographing the painting. He was photographing the wall behind it. The mounting hardware. The security panel. Robert keyed his radio again. Voice low. Central. This is Chun. Need a face check. Male. 30s. Dark jacket. Baseball cap. Gallery 7. Currently at the Vermeer. Pause. Then a voice in his ear. Stand by. The man moved to the next gallery. Robert followed. Not obviously. Just his standard patrol route. Hands still behind his back. Pace unhurried. The man stopped at 3 more paintings. Each time, same pattern. Photo of the artwork. Photo of the mounting. Photo of the security setup. Robert's radio cracked. Chun. Negative on-face match. No red flags in the system. Want us to send backup? Robert watched the man check his watch. Glance at the exit. Calculate something. Negative. Maintain position. I'll track. The man spent another 20 minutes in the museum. Visited 6 galleries. Photographed 12 paintings. All high-value pieces. All recent acquisitions. All in the same wing. Then he left. Robert didn't follow him outside. Didn't need to. He'd seen enough. He returned to the security office during his break. Pulled up the surveillance footage. Watched the man's entire visit. Then he opened his laptop, the one he kept in his locker. Not museum property. Personal. He pulled up a database most people didn't know existed. Private network. Law enforcement and former law enforcement only. Art crime. Unsolved cases. Known associates. He entered the details. Male. 30s. Dark jacket. Baseball cap. Photographing security systems. 12 paintings. Recent acquisitions. The search took 3 minutes. When the results appeared, Robert leaned back in his chair. There, 7 museums. For countries, 18 months. Same pattern. Reconnaissance visits. Photos of security systems. Then, 3 weeks later, heists. Professional. Clean. No violence. The paintings disappeared. Never recovered. Never sold on the open market. Which meant private buyers. Which meant the thief wasn't working alone. Robert printed the file. Brought it to his supervisor. A woman in her 40s named Patricia who'd worked at the museum for 12 years. She read it. Looked at Robert. "You think this guy is casing us?" Robert nodded. "He's planning something. Probably within the next 2 weeks." Patricia frowned. "How can you possibly know that?" "Because he photographed the security panel schedules. They rotate every 3 weeks. He'll hit during the next maintenance window." Patricia stared at him. "How do you know about the maintenance windows?" Robert met her eyes. "I worked art crime for 16 years. Secret Service. I know how they think." Patricia's expression changed. "You were Secret Service?" Robert nodded. Patricia set down the file. "I need to call this in." "Do it," Robert said. "But don't shut down the galleries. If we spook him, he'll disappear. And he'll just hit another museum." Patricia hesitated. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we let him come back," Robert said quietly. "And when he does, we'll be ready." 2 days later, the man returned. Different clothes. Different hat. Same backpack. He entered at opening time. Moved directly to Gallery 7. Robert wasn't in his usual corner. He was in Gallery 9, watching on his phone, live security feed. The museum had upgraded his access after Patricia's call. FBI had been notified. Local police briefed. But they'd agreed to Robert's plan. Watch and wait. The man spent 30 minutes in Gallery 7, then moved to Gallery 12, then Gallery 4. He was checking his routes, timing the guard rotations, locating the cameras, testing the pattern. Robert tracked him remotely, never in the same gallery, never in the line of sight, just watching, learning. At noon, the man left. Robert reviewed the footage, sent it to the FBI, added his notes. He's timing the shift changes, planning his exit routes. He'll come back one more time, then he'll make his move. The FBI agent on the case called him that evening. "Mr. Chen, we appreciate your assistance. We've identified the suspect. Jacob Molina, 34, no criminal record, background in art restoration. We believe he's working for a collector in Europe. We're going to pick him up." "Don't," Robert said. "Not yet." The agent paused. "Why not?" "Because Molina isn't the main target. He's the scout. You grab him now, the buyer disappears. The operation continues. Someone else takes his place." The agent was quiet for a moment. "What do you suggest?" "Let him make the attempt. We control the situation. Catch him in the act. Use him to roll up the whole network." "That's risky." Robert smiled slightly. "I've done this before. Trust me." 3 days later, Molina returned. Night visit this time. Museum closed. But Robert was there, along with 8 FBI agents, 10 local police, all positioned, all invisible. Molina entered through a maintenance entrance. Access card cloned. Security system bypassed. Professional. He moved through the galleries with confidence. Carried specialized tools. Wore gloves. Knew exactly which cameras to avoid. He reached Gallery 7. Approached the Vermeer. Began working on the frame. And that's when Robert stepped out of the shadows. "Hello, Mr. Molina." Molina spun around. Saw Robert, an old security guard in a museum uniform. He relaxed slightly. Started to run. Robert didn't move. Didn't chase. Just spoke into his radio. "All units. Subject is moving. East corridor." Molina made it 20 feet before FBI agents appeared from 3 directions. He stopped. Hands up. The arrest was clean. Professional. No drama. They found the tools. The cloned access card. Communications with the buyer in Amsterdam. evidence of 6 previous thefts. The case made international news. Major art crime ring dismantled. 17 people arrested across 4 countries. 42 stolen paintings recovered. The FBI held a press conference. The museum released a statement. Robert's name appeared in neither. He was back at his post the next morning. 9:15. Same corner in Gallery 7. Hands behind his back. Watching. A younger guard approached him during lunch. "Dude, is it true? You caught that guy?" Robert looked up from his sandwich. "I just noticed some things." The guard shook his head. "Man, they're saying you used to be Secret Service. That you worked major cases. Why are you here? Doing this?" Robert considered the question, then said, "Because I'm good at it. And because someone needs to be paying attention." The guard didn't understand. Not yet, but maybe someday he would. That afternoon, Patricia called Robert into her office. Sat him down. "Mr. Chen," she said, "I owe you an apology." Robert raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "For not seeing you. For thinking you were just..." She paused. "Just an old guy marking time." Robert smiled. "That's what I wanted you to think." Patricia laughed, then grew serious. "The board wants to promote you. Head of security. Better pay. Office. Team to manage." Robert shook his head. "I'm good where I am. But you could." "I know. But I like the floor. I like watching. I like seeing things." Patricia studied him. "You're a rare person, Mr. Chen." Robert shrugged. "I just pay attention. That's not as common as you'd think." Over the following weeks, something shifted in the museum. The younger guards started watching Robert work, noticing how he moved, how he observed. One of them asked him for advice. "How do you see so much?" Robert thought about it, then said, "Most people look at what they expect to see. I look at what doesn't fit. The contradictions, the details that are slightly wrong." He gestured to the gallery. "That woman there. Red dress. What do you notice?" The young guard looked. "She's looking at the painting." Robert nodded. "What else?" "She's taking notes." "Yes. And?" The guard studied her. "I don't know." Robert pointed. "Her shoes. Running shoes. Practical. But her dress is formal. Her bag is designer. But worn. Real, not fake. Her notes are detailed. But she's left-handed and the notebook is positioned for a right-handed person." The guard's eyes widened. "What does that mean?" "It means she's copying someone else's notes. Probably an art student referencing a professor's lecture. She's studying for an exam." The guard stared at him. "How do you know that?" "Because I pay attention. And because every detail tells a story." The guard nodded slowly. "Can you teach me?" Robert smiled. "I just did. Start noticing. Start asking why." Over the next months, Robert became an unofficial mentor. Not formal, not organized, just available. The guard started bringing him questions. "Why does that guy keep returning to the same painting? Why does that group always avoid the cameras? Why does that woman only visit on Tuesdays?" And Robert would walk them through it, show them how to see. The museum became safer, more aware, better protected, not because of new technology or bigger budgets, but because people started paying attention. One afternoon, 6 months after the Molina arrest, an older woman approached Robert in Gallery 7. She was elegant, well-dressed, probably 70s. "Excuse me," she said. "Are you Robert Chen?" Robert turned. "I am." She smiled. "I'm Margaret Holloway, the woman from the paintings Molina stole. One of them was mine." Robert nodded. "The Monet." She looked surprised. "You know, I read the case files. Your grandfather bought it in 1948. Paris. It had been missing since the war." Miss Holloway's eyes filled with tears. "That painting was the last thing I had from him. When it was stolen, I thought it was gone forever." Robert said quietly, "It's been recovered." The FBI is processing the paperwork. You should have it back within 6 months. I know, she said. That's why I'm here. To thank you. You didn't do this for recognition, Robert said gently. I didn't do this for recognition. Then why? Miss Holloway asked. Because it mattered, Robert said simply. Because someone had to notice. Because that's the job. She studied him for a long moment, then extended her hand. Thank you, Mr. Chen, for seeing what others missed. He shook her hand, just paying attention. After she left, Robert returned to his corner, hands behind his back, eyes scanning, watching, because that's what he did. That's who he was. Not for glory, not for recognition, just for the quiet satisfaction of knowing that he could still see what others couldn't, still protect what needed protecting, still do the job that most people never knew needed doing. Some people teach by speaking, others by example. Robert Chen taught by presence, by showing that the most important work is often the least visible, that the most dangerous threats are the ones nobody notices, and that sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one everyone ignores. So now I ask you, have you ever walked past someone without really seeing them? Have you ever dismissed someone because of their age or their job? Have you ever assumed that the quiet person in the corner had nothing important to offer? Write about it in the comments. Share what you learned. Because stories like Robert's remind us that expertise doesn't announce itself. Experience doesn't demand attention. And sometimes, the person protecting you is the one you never thought to thank. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, subscribe. Share it. Help us honor the people who do important work in silence, who protect what matters without asking for credit, who see what others miss because they've learned that attention to detail can change everything. We'll see you in the next one. And until then, look closer. Notice more, because the world is full of people like Robert Chen, doing extraordinary things while looking ordinary, and they deserve to be seen.